My guests are Assistant Superintendent Darrel Yater, the Assistant Director of Student Services, Dustin Gehring, and Public Relations Coordinator for the school district, Lyndsey Creecy. Darrel, Lyndsey, Dustin, I welcome all of you to SuperChat. Darrel, Dustin, let me ask you guys, what prompted your school district to create what you refer to as a safety day?
Well, Gary, as you know, safety is a top priority for the district, and we take that responsibility very serious. So we practice fire and safety drills frequently throughout the year. When we do those practices, they're in a controlled environment. Sometimes when situations arise that ask you to take practice and put it into reality, you learn from that experience. And so we had the opportunity to take time to reflect and to learn from some situations that happened. And we wanted to take time to share our reflections, share our lessons, and get feedback from our staff around processes and procedures for safety and security.
Sure. Can one of you give me an overview of the day?
Absolutely. Good morning, Gary. We took this opportunity to align our systems, our safety system, as well as our communication systems, to make sure all of our staff are on the same page. We also took the opportunity to continue our training on our crisis response. This is something we've been after for a good number of years now, so there was a chance to deepen that. We also took this opportunity to look at our communication processes, both in and outside of a crisis.
Yeah, and these are such important things, absolutely, for sure. Well, describe for me what you feel teachers learned on that day. Can you summarize the safety points that were covered in the sessions?
In fact, it wasn't just our teachers, but actually we had all of our staff groupings present that day. So everyone across the board was able to get the same information. One of the things we did was a continuation of our rollout of our Navigate system. Navigate is a system that we use to communicate during a crisis. It has app, text, and email features. And it also gives everyone with the app the chance to call an alarm. So it gives us a lot more eyes out there in the community. Anyone can call an alarm, and that gives direct communication to our SROs as to what's going on. It also has a two-way chat feature during an alarm so that we can talk to each other about what's happening and get the most up-to-date information. We also took the opportunity to go over our ALICE protocols again. ALICE is an options-based response. It relies on the premise of providing information, authorizing decision-making, and participating in proactive training. It's an acronym, not to be used in order necessarily, but ALICE is the alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. We've been chasing after for a couple of years now with our staff, and it was a chance for us to deepen that further, and we were able to do that. And one other thing that we were able to do was to update our directory information and align all of our systems of communication to make sure everyone's in the loop, everyone's getting the notifications, everyone is getting the information they need during a crisis.
Well, for the administrative team specifically, what would you say were the takeaways? I mean, things of value or benefit that can help you make improvements.
So one of the things that we were really proud of is that we got really positive feedback from all of our staff who were involved in the day, feeling like it was a really good use of time. We've engaged with our staff around these conversations for a long time, but this opportunity to take an entire day with all of our staff present and really go into some deeper dives into these conversations that gives us dedicated extended time for staff to provide feedback and for us to do in-depth training and really have that two-way communication with our staff around safety and security over an extended period of time when we didn't have to cut the conversation because we ran out of time at a faculty meeting. That extended period of time to have those in-depth conversations and for everyone to get their questions answered, in our mind, was a really good use of the time and is another thing that we were able to do that takes us one step closer to safe.
Were any of the findings that you walked away with, were any of them a huge surprise to you? I'm just curious.
Actually, we felt like we were able to refine a lot. There wasn't anything that was a complete aha that we were doing a complete 180 on. It was a lot of deeper understanding people feeling, I think, more empowered around the decisions they're able to make in a crisis. And so I think it was more about us being able to support staff in decision-making processes and understanding their role in that versus a lot of major changes.
Sure. I think that's a good sign because it means that these things are being thought of and incorporated into your planning all along. This is excellent. Well, Lyndsey, let me ask you, reliable communication with the community is a very critical component of managing any crisis situation. So in such situations, how do you plan to reach members of your community?
So typically in any crisis situation, the first thing that people do is look for information. They typically want to know two things. If it involves anyone that they know, and also they want to be sure that everyone is okay. We live in a time where everyone wants information instantaneously. And our job as a district has been to look at the best ways to disseminate information and to determine which systems work and which systems are the most effective. We have over 9,000 students starting in pre-kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, which really means that we have a very diverse group of parents. Many of our parents are millennials, and they no longer depend on phone calls for information. Oftentimes, they depend on text messages or they depend on social media to gather information. We have other groups of people that love phone calls, and then some that don't have access to phones, but they do have access to email at their jobs. And so they depend on receiving those notifications via email. And some of our stakeholders like to browse our website for information. And so we are looking at all ways and all channels of putting information out. I think what's important is that we want people to be able to access the information easily and quickly. And so we've looked at ways that we've communicated in the past, and our goal is to be able to put the information out front, but to make sure that people can access it easily.
Well, in your opinion, do you think Safety Day will be something that will be held again by your school district at various times in the future when, the frequency at which it may be yet to be decided?
Well, of course. I mean, Darrel stated this best earlier, that safety is our top priority. And so we are and will always continue to have conversations around this. This is something that we will always work on. The world changes, communication changes, staff changes. And so parents change as students graduate or change from school to school. And so there will continuously need to be conversations to make sure that we are engaging our parents and figuring out the best way to reach them, but also making sure that we keep our staff informed on the best way to move forward.
Lyndsey, of course, as public relations coordinator, you are the go-to person for anything related to public information and news. It's my understanding that Northwest Local Schools has a downloadable app that parents or teachers, anyone really, can use to access news and information about Northwest Local Schools. So tell our listeners about what all this app provides to them.
Well, Gary, we're very excited about our new app. It is accessible for anyone who has an iPhone, an Android phone, or also a Windows phone. And so our goal with rolling out this mobile app was, like I said before, to make it easier to access information that parents want to see. And I mentioned this before, we have 11 schools. And within those 11 schools, we have 300 pages on our website. There's a lot of information that's on our website, whether it be handbooks or school menus. But having this app makes it easier for parents to access the information that we know that they want to see within just a click of a button without having to navigate through a large website.
And I assume that this gives the user a direct access to your district's social media postings, right?
Exactly. It surely does. It not only gives parents access to our social media channels, but it also gives them direct access to Progress Book, where parents can view student grades and averages. assignment details, homework participation, and even attendance. One of the things that I love so much about the app is that it combines our news articles, our social media feeds from Facebook and Twitter, and our calendar into one place. And so instead of looking in multiple different places or having to type in Facebook and log in there or go to Twitter and log in there, it really combines everything into one space where you can access all of it with just the click of one button. It also allows our users to have the option to receive push notifications from specific schools, which is what I love because a person may have one student in one school and they may not want to receive information from every school, but this allows them to be able to decide how they want to receive information.
Yeah, that makes sense. When it comes to things like weather-related announcements, maybe closure or delay, or even sports schedules or the outcomes of various sporting contests, I assume that information is also accessible for a user, right?
It is. In addition to the features that I mentioned earlier, those things are also there, but it also gives our parents access to staff contact information. So if you go to a specific school, everyone who's within that building will be listed within that school. And I mentioned this before, we have a very diverse student population. One of the things that I love about this app is it has features that can translate up to 92 different languages. That's wonderful. We love that this translates everything that's on our website and also on the app for all of our users to be able to use quickly, easily. And so it also allows users to be able to determine how frequently they want to receive information as well. Users have the option to receive alerts daily or weekly. And it also provides our users with easy access to things like our SuperChat podcast. So we're very excited about it. We're encouraging everyone to download it. The more information, the better. And so this gives every user access to more information. It can be downloaded through the Play Store or an App Store. Users just have to type in Northwest Local Schools -OH and download it.
Well, I think especially when we were talking earlier about crisis situations, I think any one of us would agree that during such situations, reliable communication with members of the community is just like really, really critical. It's an important component of managing or minimizing, I would say, the negative impact of the crisis itself. So in such situations, that's where people can go. It's like the information central, if I may call it that. And I'm sure that with notifying stakeholders with a mix of preferences, some people, like you said, like texting. Some people would prefer an email. Some people don't have a phone. Hey, I get all that. And I think in today's world, it's just you got to hit it all. And it sounds like you've got it really covered here. I must say this has been an interesting conversation today. Important topics, and I hope our listeners appreciate your contributions and the sharing that has gone on today. And I will say this, I'd like to wish each of you and every one of our listeners a very happy holiday season and a prosperous new year to boot. And for sure, I want to thank all of you for joining me today here on SuperChat.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks.